Okay, I want you to start off by writing this formula down. Now, remember we talked about yesterday, M stands for slope. To find the slope of a line, if you're given 2 points, you can take the difference in the y values over the difference in the x values. So this says M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. The y sub 2 means the second y coordinate. The y sub 1 means the first y coordinate. The x sub 2 is the second x coordinate. The x sub 1 is the first x coordinate. So let's do some examples. This is the slope formula right here. Actually, I'll write that up here. Okay. So suppose that I want to find the slope of a line that goes through the points 3, 4, and negative 2, 3. Now, one way to do that is to actually draw a coordinate grid, put 3, 4 on the grid, put negative 2, 3 on the grid, draw a line through them, make your slope triangle, and count it that way as we've done before. That's one way to do it. You can so do it that way if you prefer. But we're actually going to practice using this slope formula to do that. So whenever you use the slope formula, my suggestion to you, first step is to label your coordinates. For example, this is the first ordered pair, this is the second ordered pair. This is the 3 is the first x coordinate, so that's going to be x sub 1. The 4 is the first y coordinate, so we call that y sub 1. The negative 2 is the second x coordinate, and this 3 right here is the second y coordinate. How did I know that? Well, when I'm dealing with ordered pairs, an ordered pair is always x coordinate comma y coordinate. How to know which one was the first and which one was the second? Well, that's the first. That was written down first. That was written down second. So you label them first, and that's going to help you make sure you get everything lined up appropriately. For the first several times that you're working with the slope formula, write it down. If you write this formula down, every time that you use it, it'll become cemented into your head. I cannot express to you how incredibly important it is to know the slope formula. This has to be memorized, so we're going to write it down every time until it's memorized. So I'm finding the slope, so I'm going to keep the M. Now I'm going to look at this. This is a slope formula. So the first thing I need to write down is the second y coordinate, or y sub 2. So if I look up here, that's a 3. If I go back to my formula, I see a minus sign. So I write down a minus sign. Then I see y sub 1, which is 4. X sub 2 is negative 2. In my formula, I have a minus, so I'm going to write that down. X sub 1 is 3. Now, I'm going to look at my numerator, which is 3 minus 4. 3 minus 4 I know is negative 1. And then negative 2 minus 3. Remember, you can keep, change. So that would become negative 2 plus negative 3, which is negative 5. So I have a slope of negative 1 over negative 5. Remember that a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So this is the same as 1 1/5. So the slope of a line that goes through the point 3, 4 and negative 2, 3 is going to be 1/5. Let's try another one. So number 2, our points are negative 2, 5 and negative 3, 6. So we want to find the slope of a line that goes through those 2 points. Again, we can take the long route and plot the points, draw the line through the points, make your slope triangle. You can do that, but we're practicing using the slope formula. So once you write down the ordered pairs, you want to label them. So this is always x sub 1, y sub 1. This is always x sub 2, y sub 2. Go ahead and get in the habit of labeling them. It will make your life easier. I'm going to rewrite my slope formula down. So that's y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And now I'm going to substitute into the slope formula. I see y sub 2, well, I find that to be 6, minus, so I'm going to write down a minus. I see y sub 1, I find that to be 5. X sub 2, I see is negative 3, and here's where it gets messy, so be careful. After x sub 2 should be a minus sign. Then write x sub 1. X sub 1 is negative 2. Look at the denominator. It should read negative 3 minus negative 2. A common mistake is for students to leave off this negative 2 and write negative 3 minus positive 2. If you left off the negative sign in front of the 2, your answer would end up being incorrect. So be careful. Okay, so now we'll subtract. 6 minus 5 we know is 1. And if I look at the bottom, I know I need to do keep, change, change. So keep, change, change. So that's the same as negative 3 plus positive 2, which is negative 1. So I end up having the slope being 1 over negative 1. Well, 1 over negative 1 means 1 divided by negative 1. So the slope is just negative 1. The slope of a line that goes through the points negative 2, 5 and negative 3, 6 is going to be negative 1.